My lords, I too was surprised to hear about the reappearance of the ban on conversion therapy in the King's speech. It is a very complex issue which needs further consideration and risks reigniting the cultural wars, which the government wants to end. The barbaric methods used in the 1950s are now illegal, but activists argue that new legislation is necessary to address more subtle forms of psychological and emotional coercion not currently covered. While these concerns are relevant, such a ban would also conflict with fundamental rights, such as freedom of thoughts and religion, freedom of expression, and the right to private life. In view of these contradictions, can my noble friend, the Baroness, the Minister, tell this House what legal definitions would apply to such a ban? My greatest fear, as the Earl of Leicester mentioned earlier, is the unintended consequences that such a ban could inflict on children who are struggling with gender identity. Medical interventions have permanent and devastating effects. Many teenagers who have undergone treatment for gender dysphoria now regret being transitioned. I and other noble lords have shared Kira Bell's story in this House before, and we will keep sharing it if it helps prevent other children from falling into the same trap. As a teenager, Kira Bell was put on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormone. At the age of 20, she underwent a double mastectomy. These treatments gave her masculine features such as facial and body hair and a deep voice. But as she transitioned, she realized that it wasn't what she needed, and I quote her, "As I matured, I recognized that gender dysphoria was a symptom of my overall misery, not its cause." At 22, she decided to detransition, but to this day, she's still suffering from irreversible consequences. My heart bleeds for her. What Kira needed, and others like her need, is space and support to thoroughly explore her thoughts, not life-altering medications and surgery. As she puts it, if only someone had provided me with therapy and thoroughly explored my thoughts when I was a teenager, I could have been spared the trauma, and I could now be living a much happier and fulfilling life. A conversion therapy ban must not follow in these disastrous footsteps. The CAS review raised significant concerns about the potential criminalization of clinicians under new conversion therapy bans. She pointed out that such legislation could create an environment of fear amongst therapists, making them anxious about conducting appropriate exploratory conversions with young patients. Similarly, parents should be free to have open and honest discussion with their gender-confused children without fear of prosecution. So legislation requires careful balancing of safeguardings to address potential risks and ensure the well-being of all affected parties, particularly children. The government says that a ban must not cover legitimate psychological support treatment or non-directive counseling, and that it must respect the important role that teachers, religious leaders, parents, and carers can have in supporting those exploring their sexual orientation. Can the Minister tell this House how it will legislate to ban one type of therapist while respecting these safeguards? Furthermore, can the Minister tell us which groups the government will be consulting before pushing such legislation